welcome back to a very special episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
Hey, Grant, we can see you! We can see you! There he is, everybody! We can see Grant! Woo, that's so exciting! And he doesn't say anything. Okay.
He's alive.
Well, what can I say? I'm not the voice.
You're here.
However, I am trapped in Moria at the minute.
Right. He is trapped in Moria, everybody. Look at that. But that's okay, you know. As long as you're keeping it secret and keeping it safe, that's all that matters. And who else do we have?
Definitely.
I am Ted Bannock, and I love talking about cards. Some would even say that I am ready to talk about cards. Some very select few people would say that I'm ready to talk about cards.
Yes. And I am not one of those select few. Am I, Ted?
No, but those select few can be found on our patron list.
Yes.
Which we would like to thank right now.
Yes. So before we get to the Ready Teddy level patrons, I'd like to thank the other patrons without whom we wouldn't be able to keep the lights on in this podcast. So I would very much love to thank Daniel. Go, Ted.
Clearly, all that money is funneled to your room because you have lots of lights on, and Grant clearly gets nothing for his lights.
Right. Well, the light import fee to England is steep.
We need more patrons for that.
Right. If you want, maybe that's the next level. Light Grant's dining room. Anyways, we would love to thank the patrons that help us keep the lights on here in New Jersey, but not in England. Thank you so much to Daniel, David, Jake, James, Jason, Joseph, Joshua, Kyle, Lou, Matt, Mike, Dominic, Phil, Robert, Russ, Sean. And if you want to become a patron yourself, feel free to join us down here. It's patreon.com/cardtalk2018, and you too can become a patron. And one of the things we've done recently is opened up a Ready Teddy level patron. And we have two patrons that felt so strongly about wanting to call our very own Ted Bannock Ready Teddy that we have two patrons at the Ready Teddy level. So patron Justin joined us at the Ready Teddy level patron. So thank you so much, Justin. And also joining us is Vardaen, who joined us one other time, but Vardaen is with us, who is also a Ready Teddy level patron. Vardaen, who joined us earlier as just Stephen did an O-Wings Flight episode. But Stephen, welcome to the show, and thank you for becoming a Ready Teddy supporter of the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be back. And, I could not pass up the Ready Teddy level. It's just something that had to be done. So,
yeah.
Look,
and
I'm not even mad. I'm totally cool about it.
You can't be mad, right?
I can't be mad. That's part of the deal.
Look, yeah, that's right.
Let's go. I'm ready.
I've said it off air. During the LCG con, I did sort of call you Ready Teddy without officially being a patron. So I had to go back. I had to make amends, make sure that, I paid my debts. So I'm glad I was able to do that. And you didn't get mad at me for that. So
all past sins forgiven.
Well, I will say that anybody who joins at the Ready Teddy level, I mean, you only need to do a 1 month thing, and then Ready Teddy forever. I mean, that's the
title.
He is cheap. Ted is cheap. So just to join. And so, but actually, I will say this, and then we'll get on to Vardaen, your the card that you chose. I will say that you get the show, especially because at the $10 level, you get to pick and come on the show and host and choose a card, and we get to talk about it. So you get all those wonderful benefits for doing that. So since you're Ready Teddy, not only do you get to call him Ready Teddy, but you get to come on the show and do that. So yeah. So you get all sorts of good stuff there. So anyways,
I'm excited.
Yeah, it is exciting. We love to have, and we're thankful to have you back on the show too. I mean, you're always exciting guy to talk about. No, wait. You're not an exciting guy to talk about.
Oh,
You're an
talk
exciting guy to talk to.
2. Okay. All right. I'm like, what do you guys do off air? Talk about me? That's
Yeah.
weird.
Right.
Creepy.
So, Vardaen, why don't you just take a few minutes and tell everybody who you are and talk about Critical Encounters, or
Sure. Yep.
whatever it is that you want to talk about.
So a lot of people in the Lord of the Rings community know me as Vardaen. My real name's Steve. I've been around since the first cycle of the game, been playing forever. Feels like. But at a certain point, when the Marvel Champions LCG came out, I started a podcast up with Daniel. You guys might know him as Big Phone Loaf. He's also a big Lord of the Rings community member. And our friend Mustafa. So we have a show, Critical Encounters. We talk about the encounter cards, the villains, the minions, and we ignore those so-called heroes and just really focus on the people who make that game what it is, the villains. So, and you can find that on any podcast player, Facebook. Just search Critical Encounters Marvel Champions, and you'll find us. So.
It's always good to know that you can take what you learned from the Lord of the Rings community and make it better in the Marvel community, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like what Caleb did with Lord of the Rings, right? He said, these are all the things that work for Lord of the Rings, and we're going to make it into a better game in Marvel.
Yeah, I don't know if you can get a better community than the Lord of the Rings community. The Marvel community is working on it. We're trying. But, man, that Lord of the Rings community, you guys are great. Everybody, I've never met somebody from Lord of the Rings I haven't liked. So they might not like me, but I like them.
Well,
so
right. Well, from what I understand, and this far predates me in my entrance into the community, but you have a little bit of a reputation as being kind of a little bit of a troublemaker in the LOTR community. Is that true?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, if
like
you
all
check...
good fun, good trouble, right? But like.
Yeah, I always was that heckler that you needed on the Twitch streams. The Cardboard of the Rings Discord, they moved me and Network into the troll category. So I'm really playing up that role. So I like to think I'm, it's all an act. Mostly it's an act.
And I mean, well, it just plays into the whole reason. You called him Ready Teddy, and you didn't even belong to the level.
Teddy. That's right.
But like the gentleman you are, you did commit to the Ready Teddy level. So that's
right.
Nice. So.
Yep.
I don't know. Should we get into the card that you wanted to pick? You want to go down through?
We certainly can, but I will take just a moment to point something out as to why Vardaen is probably my favorite patron, at least because of the contributions and something he brought up to me very recently that I had not noticed. So how long have I been on the show?
A year?
David?
More than a year?
Right, I just had my 1 year anniversary. My question to you is: my probation period over? How long is the Card Talk probation period?
It's today plus a day. It's to today and then one more day beyond today.
It's so funny because Vardaen was mentioning to me. He goes, "Yeah, at the very end of the show, you guys, you have an outro, and the outro says like, it's you reading it, Dave, and you're like, Grant and I, thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions for the two of us, contact us here." And I'm like, I don't think this has been updated since I joined the show. I wonder when we're gonna get around to doing that. And I'm like, maybe I just didn't hit my probation yet. It's not permanent.
I mean, so basically, Grant, what I'm getting is that Ted wants to be the secretary of the show and answer all the emails and pay all the bills. That's what I'm getting. That if he wants his name on the outro.
That's some stiff requirements. I mean, think about this. Without the Ready Teddy level, that's 2 patrons specifically just for Ted, right? Oh man, he's brought in some money.
He has. He's brought in a couple of bucks. Okay. Seems okay. Seems okay.
Yeah, seems okay. We'll put that on the to-do list though. But it was really funny because even when I go back and I listen to our shows, I'd never listen because I'm like, the last bits are just like the thank yous and stuff, right? So I always cut it off before that. That's really funny.
So Ted, host of the show, never listens to the outro. Everybody, so wait till I record the new one.
I think what you need to do is have Ted record the new one.
Yeah,
that's right. I will. I'll send you the file. It's on the way.
That's fine. That's fine. As soon as I get it, I'll be happy to put it on there.
It'll
on the
be,
end
if
of
you
the
have
show.
any comments for me, you can leave it for me. There are no other members of the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to me.
Yeah.
Before I joined the show, the show was trash, and so I'm the one that brought it to its current level, and I'm the best deck builder that has ever lived. So please listen to me and only me. Okay.
So,
Can we
thank
talk
you.
about
Thank
a
you for-
card? Ted
thank you for
prefers to
that
talk
aside.
about a
Yes.
card.
Let's talk about cards. I love doing it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready, Teddy. Let's talk about cards.
That's one. I'm going to count how many times through the episode that Vardaen takes advantage of his Ready Teddy level. Thing.
I got to work it in organically, though.
Can we get a ready
He's right.
Teddy counter?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's already
Yeah.
shown up on the screen. It's there.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's only Vardaen that can say it's not us because we aren't Ready Teddy level patrons. So,
Very true.
yeah. Okay. So, Steve, go ahead.
Do you want me to read the card off?
Yeah. Tell us what card you chose. And
All right, so I
read the
picked
card.
Ghan-Buri-Ghan. It's a lore ally. It costs 2. Has an X willpower, 1 attack, 1 defense, 2 hit points. It has the woes trait. And X is the threat of the active location. Has a travel action. Discard Ghan-Buri-Ghan to travel to a location without resolving its travel effects. And the flavor text says, Ghan-Buri-Ghan will not lead you into trap. The Return of the King.
I laugh because I literally just finished reading Return of the King, so I know all about Ghan-Buri-Ghan
Yeah.
and from his and his like the lore behind him. Not that this is what the show is about, but I think that he has X willpower is very appropriate for who he is. So
Yeah, and I always like to dig into the lore of the cards. We do that in our show. Did you know that Ghan-Buri-Ghan means Ghan, son of Ghan?
Ghan, son of Ghan. Yes, I did know that. Right?
Dad's name is Ghan. Yeah.
Right. He's a junior.
Yeah.
His name is probably Ghan-Buri-Ghan.
All right,
He's probably Ghan, son of Ghan. But they shorten it. Do you think his friends call him GBG?
For short.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's respect the. See, you guys have me all flustered talking about how I haven't included Ted on the outro. So I'm like, I just don't want this show to end now. I have to keep talking.
Is it Ready, son of Teddy? I mean,
That's 2, right? Ready, son of Teddy. Oh, okay. Uses of the card, or more lore.
yeah, I like the
Vardaen.
lore on this guy. I think a little tiny bit of lore gives you a good idea of why he does what he does, right? So the Woses are the wild men in the woods. Druidane, they were men of the east, and they traveled west just like all the rest of the men, and they've kind of were always, according to the elves, ugly,
Right.
and considered wild and beasts. And even during the Second Age, when Numenor was re-exploring Middle Earth, you had the Dunedain killing off Druidane. So they continually hid further and further into the forest, into the dark places of Middle Earth, but they always hated Sauron and the orcs. So they're good people, but because of their culture, they were kind of looked down on or stamped out in places until they were almost extinct. So,
And they ended up finding home in the Druidan forest, which is an adventure pack, and so there's a whole the tribe of the wild men live in the Druidan forest, which eventually becomes their home, and Aragorn gives them that home in the when after Sauron is defeated and said, "None shall enter here without your permission," and things like that. So
yeah.
And I guess the main thing about him in the whatchamacallit, in the lore of the book is that he guided Theoden through the Druidan forest to get to the Battle of Pelennor Field a lot more safety. Right?
Yeah, right. They avoid an orc army waiting to waylay them. And had they not gone through the forest, they would not have arrived in time to help Gondor.
Right.
So this guy is critical to the story, really. So.
Right. It was a critical encounter that Theoden had, right?
Oh yeah, good. That's one. I like that.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, so that's that. I would guess that that's why he has X willpower, and he does. You don't have to. You can use him to travel safely to the next location if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, I think theme-wise that hits pretty good.
Yeah,
So.
it does. Okay, so gentlemen, maybe we start with Grant. Grant's awfully quiet over there. He's sending me messages through Facebook. No, he's not sending me messages through Facebook. Anyways, Grant, what do you think of Ghan-Buri-Ghan?
I think it's a brilliant ally. Relatively cheap for what it does. 2 cost for essentially 2 or 3 willpower with 2 hit points, and that travel action. You don't have to use it, but if you've got a nasty location that has a relatively harmful effect, then yeah, you can use his ability. And then, obviously, if you've got another Ghan-Buri-Ghan in your hand, you can play it out straight away because he is that cheap.
Yeah.
He's a cheap, decent ally. There's not much more I can say about it.
Yeah.
Steve, what do you have to say about Ghan-Buri-Ghan and his play?
Yeah, I think I like him. I think it's a good card. Like Grant said, it's inexpensive, and you can hold on to that travel action for a clutch. Travel effect. It's gives you a good out in lore if you need to get through a location. There's ways to do it in spirit, like West Road Traveler, South of Way, stuff like that. But lore generally just puts progress out on the locations, and this guy lets you avoid something. And in that Druidane Force Pack you mentioned, almost every location has a really terrible travel effect. Exhaust your heroes, take damage, spend resources.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, so he knows his way through his home pretty well and lets you avoid all those terrible effects. So,
what about you, Ted? You've been quiet, or maybe I've just been ignoring you. I don't know.
He's ready.
A year.
He's ready. Here you go.
I don't know if that counts. Does that count?
0.5.
Counts enough. Yeah, 0.5.
Okay.
I've been trying to think. Every time I play him, there is a song that plays in my head because his name sounds like the lyrics of the song. And I know that the artists are not singing Ghan-Buri-Ghan. I think they're saying like the love is gone or something like that. It's like da 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 da, the love is gone or something to that effect. I don't know the name of the artist. And I've been trying to think of the song and I can't even remember the correct lyrics. But however the rhythm goes, every time I play him, I go da 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 da, Ghan-Buri-Ghan, da na 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 na, Ghan-Buri-Ghan. Every time.
This is why you're not on the outro. Right here. This is it.
That's the new outro, by the way. Just me gonna be Ghan-Buri-Ghan. That's it. That's the whole new outro. Done.
Yeah.
You can just take that soundbite.
That has nothing to do with how you play the card.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
No, but it's really bothering me that I can't remember the artist or any of the lyrics to try to find the song. I just have a vague memory of like the chorus, which doesn't help at all. Mechanically, this card is fantastic. Ghan-Buri-Ghan's great because he has this effect to discard him for a really great benefit. So running 3 copies of him in your deck is great. You can run 3 copies, and you're very likely to see 2 of them, and probably use his effect to mitigate a travel ability that would otherwise harm you. And his X willpower value it's bonkers because most locations in the game are 2, right? And then some are 3, you have some 4. And if you play him in the Arid Mithrin cycle, he's a monster. The Arid Mithrin cycle has the deep mechanic where you travel to locations and you replace them with something from the caves deck.
Right.
Those cave locations, 5, 6, 7 threat.
Right. And some of them are even X threat because it's how many allies you have in play, and so that's like you may have 8 or 9.
Yeah, like the old Ford, I think, is one where it gets really high.
Yeah.
He'll quest for like 6 willpower on some turns. And that seems okay for 2 resources.
Yeah, definitely.
And the good thing is that 6 will, like, let's juxtapose this with Bilbo, or Argalad or Spirit Aragorn, where you get the lower the threat of what's ever out there, or Spirit Bilbo, you get to add the threat of something in the staging area. So by canceling out something in the staging area, I mean, you're still just canceling that card out. By getting the threat of the active location, you're able to more easily clear through things in the staging area to get to that active location. And so it's a little bit different and a little bit more powerful, because the active location, unless you get a treachery that says the threat of the active location is now added to the current threat or something, but that can help a ton, like you're saying. So I think that X willpower is bonkers good, like you said, Ted. But I would hazard a guess. There's not a lot of scenarios that begin with an active location, but there are a ton of scenarios that begin with a location in the staging area that will become an active location. So
Yeah.
Right, he might not be great first turn, but a couple turns in, you're gonna have something in that active location slot.
yeah, second turn, and
Yep.
that gives you enough time to get 2 resources out, So
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems really, really good.
Yeah. So Steve, is he a staple in your decks? Like in your lore decks, do you always run one of it if you're running one lore hero, or do you always run 2? Like, how often does he fit into your decks?
I think it depends sometimes on the quest, but I don't typically have staples that I play in every single deck all the time. I mean, he's good, and he probably should be in a lot of more of my decks. But there's so many cards in the card pool.
Yes.
I try to use ones I don't use all the time, so I don't like to repeat the same game over and over again and have the same deck. But once once he goes in a deck, I might use that deck for an entire cycle, or try to. So I know I played with him a lot when he first came out, and I haven't put him in as much lately. But like I said, I haven't played as much lately as I should be. So I don't know if that answers the question.
It does. And do you generally run him in solo decks, multiplayer? Do you think he's good in both, one or the other?
I think he'd work in both. I mean, multiplayer obviously going to have a lot more locations come up just because of card draw. But even in a solo, like 3 willpower, 2 willpower, they're going to be decent. So, if for some reason you're playing that solo game and you don't have any locations out, he's got 1 attack, I guess.
He can. And 2 hit points, right? So he can take an archery soak or a treachery
Right.
that causes him 1 damage.
Yeah, and I don't mind, because he's only 2. I don't mind if I have to chump with him.
Right.
Like especially if I have another one in my hand, or I think that this guy is I don't know, just very unique. I don't know any other person that has an X willpower up there.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know either.
There's
Actually,
plenty
There isn't one.
of enemies who have X for their stats.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, but player cards player allies. I don't think there are any others with X.
Yeah, there's nothing with X attack or X defense or X hit points.
I think there's one with X defense. I want to say like the Defender of Care Andros or something.
Which is the tens digit of your threat dial or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's a Tactics Gondor ally, and his defense is subject to your threat value, so his can change. But there's not that many.
Yeah, and
Those
that
effects.
Carandros guy, he's great when you get into the quest where your threat can go up to 100. So,
Yeah.
Oh, a
Dire.
dire quest.
Yeah, Mount
yeah.
Doom and yep.
Blackgate.
Yeah, the Blackgate opens.
Yeah, you could have 6-7 defense when your threat's up there, 60-70 range. That's
Yeah. Yeah. But this guy works in every quest. Ghan-Buri-Ghan does. So.
Yeah, well, it's like, what quest has no locations?
There aren't any.
Yeah,
there is
Nope.
one quest that doesn't have any enemies in the encounter deck. That's a trivia question. Anybody know?
Battle Lake Town.
Battle of Lake Town. Because the
just
three
Smaug.
Smaugs are off to the side in their own little thing. But the encounter deck only has locations and treacheries, but there's nothing that doesn't have any locations in it.
Yeah,
So
it's such a
Does Ghan-Buri-Ghan's ability let you sneak in the quest where you have the map mechanic? Does he let you flip a location earlier because you get to ignore the travel effect? Maybe not. Maybe not.
map
You know which one I'm
mechanic.
talking about, right?
Yeah,
Where you're on the island, you have the
we
whole
just
map out.
Ted and I just played it.
Oh, in the you're talking about in the Dream Chaser cycle.
The Temple of
Where-
the Deceived.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I certainly think those have travel effects. I think some of them might have travel effects.
Well, is the travel
I don't remember.
going left and right? Is that just a movement and not a travel? Because the travel
Not
effect
just
would say
movement.
travel.
Yeah, I think it's a mechanic of the scenario rather than an actual travel effect.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But there's a lot of most travel effects are bad, right?
Yes, most of them are.
there's a handful of locations, right, that give you bonuses when you travel
Like
there.
Forest Gate or something. From
Yeah,
the
right.
Yeah,
draw a
Force
card.
Gate.
Travel here, draw a card or something.
There's I'm thinking of Fate of Wilderland has like a dwarven watchtower.
Right.
I think that when the travel effect is to like ready a hero or something along those lines. But yeah, most locations, are dangerous. And
You've also got the desert oasis that heals you up during the Haragam cycle.
right. Okay. So there's a couple, but those are so few. And being able to just like putting him out and you're like, okay, he's going to quest for a couple turns. And then you might use his ability to mitigate the travel effect just to like play him again. Like that's a lot of value.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that he is for 2 cost. Like, it's possible that his willpower is 0. But most of the time, his willpower, when you need it, is going to be more than 0. Like, it's it's crazy.
Yeah, there are those turns where there's plenty of games where I've had locations and I've elected not to travel there. I'm sure that's happened to you, Steve, right? Where you're like, well, it's maybe not like the active effect is really bad, like for being an active location.
Yeah, you'd rather just deal with the 2 or 3 threat in the staging area than resolve the travel effect because it's even worse than just dealing with a couple points of threat or something.
Yeah, well, some locations are like, when this location is active, all enemies get +1 attack.
Right.
And you're like, oh, that's bad, right? So even though he bypasses the travel effect, he doesn't stop this sort of like passive effect of the location that some have. So there are those turns where, right, you're not traveling and then he is 0 willpower, sort of like David mentioned. So I guess that's kind of his flaw is that he can be 0 on some turns.
Sure.
There's also the times where you're not wanting to travel to a location because it's going to slow down your questing progress. Because it's like the location's going to eat up so much progress that you'd rather just place it onto the main quest card.
Right, something that has like 2 threat but 5 progress that you need to make out 5 quest points. And so, it's better to just quest over it than it is to put the progress on it.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy can help you just not become location locked. Like, it doesn't help you if you're location locked, but he helps prevent you from getting to that point, right?
Yeah.
So
just by contributing his willpower.
Right. For any new player out there, location lock is what happens when you have too many locations and you can't explore them fast enough. It's the one bottleneck in the game, right? It's because if you're playing 1 player, 2 player, 3 player, 4 player, you still can only travel to one location. So, it's possible that you turn over 2 or 3 locations and you can't explore them as quickly as you want. So, so the more player count, typically, the more likely it is that you want somebody to do at least a little bit of location control, which maybe brings up my next question. Does this guy fit into a location control deck, or is this separate from that location control mechanic? Steve, what do you think? I saw you look very contemplative there. You were like, that's a good question.
I typically consider location control to be putting out that progress outside of the quest phase, right? Like
Right.
Things like that. But I do think he does provide some location control because of that travel effect. So I don't know. I think he could go either way. I think he could go either direction.
Ted? Oh, wait. Go ahead, Steve. What were you?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Ted?
I'd say he works independently of that sort of deck archetype, but he tends to pair a lot of, very well with those cards. He actually pairs well with other cards that mitigate travel effects, right? I think someone had mentioned
Strider's
Westroad.
Path,
Yeah, Strider's Path, and I think Steve, you mentioned Westroad Traveler. And that you can sort of use those tricks to change out the active location to then boost his willpower to your desired effect.
Right.
So and a lot of those cards are in lore already, so they're going to be playable if in even if, like I said, a deck outside of that normal archetype might still run 1 or 2 of those tricks. Westroad Traveler is in Spirit, but that's also just a 2 willpower ally for 2 that has that effect to swap out locations. Right. If you're running lore and Spirit, those 2 allies, they're just going to be good willpower, and they kind of can play on each other into that regard.
Right. Okay, Grant, then I'll ask you a similar but different question is, what kind of deck archetype does Ghan-Buri-Ghan, GBG,
the GBG?
Yeah, the he be GB, right? He be G, I don't know. Anyways, but what kind of Grant, I liked it better when I couldn't see your face and know what your face is, that you're disapproving of my choice. Right. But what kind of deck archetype do you play with Ghan-Buri-Ghan?
I generally don't play any sort of deck archetype in that sense. It doesn't have to be location control because of the fact that he's a high quester. So if I'm just wanting somebody to quest and I've got deck space and I'm not needing it for healing or crafts or anything, I'll throw in Ghan-Buri-Ghan because he gets stronger, especially when you've got an active location there. So me, he's just a decent ally that I always think about putting into a deck. Doesn't matter what sort of deck I'm running.
Does the fact that he's unique deter any of you guys?
No, I mean, you could play Messenger of the King with him if you wanted.
Yeah. And then discard him?
Yeah, I know. No, I don't think being unique. I think he has to be unique, right?
Oh, definitely.
That's actually a good point with Messenger of the King, because his X value really benefits from there, because that counts as 0.
Right.
That's right.
Right. So his starting threat for
4.
Messenger of the King is 4.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say that this guy goes in a Burglar's Turn deck. There's very few cards that allow you to switch active locations and still use the word travel. But Ghan-Buri-Ghan says travel to the location, and the Burglar's Turn specifically says only put a card from your loot deck when you travel to a location. So Ghan-Buri-Ghan, like, there's a lot of cards that you think can go into a Burglar's Turn deck that allows you to get all those attachments, but Ghan is one of the only ones that allow you that actually works correctly
2.
with it. Right. It's actually only 2. It's Ghan-Buri-Ghan and Strider's Path.
Yeah, are the ones you can use to kind of trick that contract into getting you some more loot attached.
Right. And then if you even with the burglar's turn, if you explore it when it's in the staging area, you still don't get the loot. It goes into the you have to explore it as the active location. So you're really but so maybe Ghan-Buri-Ghan is an auto include in a burglar's turn deck. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're playing lore, I think.
If you're playing lore, yeah, but I don't think you have to include him in a burglar's turn deck. But I don't know.
That makes sense though, because burglar's turn is, you know, you're wanting to travel to locations, so I'd say it pairs very well.
Yeah.
Steve, you like Ghan-Buri-Ghan because, you know, the woes are like they were an enemy, right? Like they were a bad guy, and now he's kind of like a bad guy that's a good guy.
Well, no, I mean they're never really a bad guy. They're
Right, that was your misunderstood.
Yeah, and that's not just like a joke. Like a
Well,
villain,
yeah.
not really, you know. They actually at one point are invited to live on Numenor as a Druidane people, but as you know, the Numenor starts to be corrupted, they leave ahead of it. They see it coming and they take off. So they're not really bad guys, but then the Numenorians kind of, I don't know, they come kind
depict them as such.
they're kind of jerks at a certain point. So they drive them out because they're different, and you know, we don't like things that are different than us. So they become insular and isolated and whatnot. They've always hated Sauron. They've always go after the orcs. They don't, you know, they're not allies with the orcs. So I think they're pretty interesting people. Tolkien has a neat just a little bits. He does that great thing where he gives you like 2 sentences on something and you just want to know more. And they're kind of some of those people. So you have to dig for a lot more information about them.
Oh, definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
the other thing is like he's the only woes in the game, so it's not like they have a.
But
a,
he's the only
strong-
good guy woes in the game, right?
Right.
Oh yeah,
All
there's
the-
a
all
lot
the
of
other
bad
ones
guys. Are the
are
bad
that
guys
scenario.
right?
Yeah, the other ones in that scenario. So those guys are the ones in the scenario are opposed to Ghan-Buri-Ghan. Drew something, Drury something. I don't know. I can't remember
Oh,
his name.
Drew, is it like
Drew
Barry
Drew. Yeah, it's,
Drew, right?
yeah. We can look it up.
DVD.
Yeah.
So that's an internal conflict going on there, right? And they are so insular that they don't want anyone coming into their territory anymore. They don't want to have to deal with you. And then that whole thing is set up by Lord Elkaron, who we know is a bad guy, right? So
Right. He's the one
that-
that's in this one, right?
That
in the
makes a
current
lot more
cycle.
sense because, you know, without knowing that kind of, you know, background on them, if you're just kind of playing this game, you're like, oh, these are bad guys. I slaughtered them. Like I had Aragorn kill like 6 of these guys.
right. Yeah, and then here's this one good guy. Who's this guy? So
Yeah, like what's he doing on my team? Where did he come from?
yeah, it's interesting. I like that they give you both. Like, you get to actually play against them, and that's a tough scenario, right? All their poison darts, and they're stealing your resources, and
Yeah, they have that prowl keyword that steals your resources, which is unique to that scenario, and it is incredibly difficult. It's very annoying, that's for sure.
So I looked up Drew Barry Drew, and he's a 1 threat cost, 1 engagement cost, 4 threat, 5 attack, 3 defense, 6 hit point woes. Allies cannot defend against Drew Barry Drew while Drew Barry Drew is in the victory display. Characters get +1 willpower and +1 defense. Unless Drew Barry Drew is in the victory display, the players cannot win. So it's like you have to convince Drew Barry Drew to come on to your side, like Ghan-Buri-Ghan.
That's exactly what you have to do, because in the last stage of that quest, you no longer use your attack value to hit them. You use your willpower.
Right.
oh right, yeah, you
So
had
you're basically being more diplomatic than I'm going to slaughter you all.
I'm going to talk
we
you
s-
all to death.
Yeah, can we still be friends even though I just stabbed your family?
Right.
you
Those
invade,
Woses
they
were
attack,
my
counter.
friends.
Oh,
Yeah, they do have that thematic part of the quest. That's right. I forgot about the willpower mechanic until you mentioned it. Grant. So you're it's all good. We're all friends.
Right.
Yeah, and in that case, Ghan-Buri-Ghan's willpower might be really high because of the location you're at.
Right. And you could really talk him into being your friend.
Yeah, very true.
Look at you. Look at you. You must look at this for the stories behind it. How is it hard to be you, Vardaen?
No, it's wonderful to be me. It must be hard for you to not be me.
It is. That it's very hard. It's very hard. But you know what? I am ready.
No, you don't say it. You're not allowed to say it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I wish
Teddy's
I would.
ready though.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, if only I was a patron of my own show. I wish that I could. Oh well.
It applies to both on air and off air too. In games, out of games, anywhere you go, anywhere we are. Con, no con.
You run into Ted at the grocery store. There he is.
There he is.
Although the little known fact about Ted is he does not go to grocery stores.
It's true.
Yeah, he is
That's
allergic to grocery stores. There's something there's something about the mixture of canned goods and fresh produce that doesn't sit well. It is.
He'll
pure
melt
dog.
if he gets too close to both of them at the same time.
Yeah, it's wild. I've never seen anything like it. At Con of the Rings in 2019, I wanted to go to the grocery store, and he just about turned super white. And he was like, "No, I don't
said,
want to
no,
go."
David, I'm not ready. I said, no, I'm not ready.
He was like red with anger. Red Ted.
Red.
People just assume that I'm ready, but I could also be red.
Right. Yes.
Actually,
As well.
I think I'm ready to ring this guy. How about you guys?
Vardaen's taking over hosting responsibility.
That's right. We've digressed quite a bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's not much more to say, right? I mean, Ghan-Buri-Ghan is a decent card, and it's time to ring him, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's give him a ring on the telephone.
Let's give him
Hello?
a ring. So for
GBG.
anybody,
GBG.
GBG, that's his number.
GBG residents.
Text GBG to 30330, and you can get updates on where he is. Anyways. What happened to Card Talk? It's just
I came on the show.
Yeah.
That's my fault. I'm sorry.
Nah, you're good. You're fine.
David's fault.
It's my fault. It's my fault. I have to take the blame. Anyways, for those people who are new to the show or who don't know or have forgotten, we have a way to rank the cards on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the best card in the game. It's the one card to rule them all. And 10, when we ring something with 10 rings, it's the card that gets thrown back into the fiery chasm from whence it came. So it's the worst card in the game.
This seems very arbitrary, but yet scientific.
It is arbitrary and scientific. So, Vardaen, you are our guest, so you get to choose. Do you want to ring this guy first, second, third, or fourth?
I'm going third. I'm going to go third.
You're going to go third. Well, who? Yeah. I'll even give you directorial rights. Who do you want to go first?
I want to hear Grant go first.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm going to give it 4 rings. He's a brilliant ally, he's cheap, and his effect is very useful.
Okay.
All right, Dave, you're number 2.
I'm number 2. It's almost like you have your own podcast and you know how to do this. So I'm going to agree with Grant here. I feel like Ghan-Buri-Ghan is good. He's a cheap ally if you need something to come out and to play in the lore sphere. I mean, I know that there's cheap allies, but this guy's a cheap ally that can do something and make an impact. It's not just like a veteran axe hand for 2 or something. This is a guy that can come in and he can do a lot of questing. He can do a little bit of attack. He can soak an archery. He's very versatile. He doesn't make it into a lot of decks, but I always look at Ghan-Buri-Ghan, and he's one of these cards that slides under the radar until you play him. If you look at him, he's like, I don't know. But then when you play him, I think that increases your awareness of how good he is for a 2-cost ally. So I'm going to stick with Grant. I'm going to say 4 rings. Okay. So Vardaen, you're next. You're number 3.
Okay, I'm going to be the broken record. I think I can't disagree with anything you guys have said. it would really just be broken record here, repeating himself. But yeah, he's thematically a home run for me, which is one nice thing I like when playing the game. You don't need a location control deck. He can just play. He has some impact, even as unique. But sometimes you have unique allies or unique card, and you get the other two, and they're dead in your hand. But if you were to put all three of him in your deck, you just use his effect a couple different times, so you don't get stuck with him in your hand. So I'm gonna also say a 4. I think that's a good number.
Okay.
So, yep. And are you ready, Teddy? You're up next.
Well said. I am. 4 is a good score, but I don't actually know if it's good enough, because he's helped me beat so many difficult scenarios in the game. And when you start to look at Nightmare on top of it, there are some Nightmare locations that are like 4 or 5 threat. And he goes into the decks to he's like, well, I'll just be 5 willpower, I guess. And that's what he does. So I think I'm going to give him a 2.
Whoa.
Whoa. Okay. Wow.
Like, I use him to beat some of the more difficult scenarios. I mentioned the Arid Mithrin cycle. Those quests are difficult when you're fighting dragons and dealing with these very heavy-hitting locations. And he's just an answer to those really tough encounter cards.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't really considered Nightmare in my rating, but yeah, that makes sense. So,
does anybody ever consider Nightmare? Like, Ted just completed his Nightmare collection, so he's all on this Nightmare kick. But I don't know.
Actually, well, I had a setback in that, but it's on its way towards completion.
That's because the last pack you needed was in the grocery store, and you just couldn't
get there. Yeah, I completed my Nightmare stuff at Con of the Rings last year.
So. Yeah, well done.
I have just a couple more to get myself, so I don't know.
And I personally own 0 Nightmare.
Oh, I think there's a joke in there about being married or something, right?
If you want to go fishing it out, mate, go ahead.
No. I would never do that. I love Katie. She's the original 4th host of the show. So,
well, technically, she was the original 3rd host.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Yeah, she's on the outro. I mean...
Unlike some people.
Yeah. Oh, there you have it, folks. If you need Ted's email address, let me know. I will send it to you, and you can complain about the show all you want.
We'll make a Patreon level for that.
It's just readyteddy@gmail.com.
Yeah.
I'll go steal that address right now.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah, better go make it.
Right. Ready, Teddy, GBG. Okay. Yeah. Vardaen, it's always a pleasure. I think you're one of the best guys in the community, and we always enjoy having you on the show. So thanks for taking time out of your Sunday night to come on here.
Oh, you even said that with a straight face. I'm impressed. I love the show. You guys are great. I'm glad to be on. Keep up the good work.
It's a pleasure having you on, mate.
Yeah, and just another quick plug for any crossover fans that do Marvel. Check out Critical Encounters, right?
Yep. You'll find us.
There are some playthroughs too, also linked to that, right?
We don't really publish any playthroughs, but Big Foam Loaf, or Daniel on our show, he does a Monday Night Twitch with Wandering 2. Everybody should know those names. And we'll play, sometimes I'll be on with them. They'll play Lord of the Rings. They play Arkham. They play Marvel. So you can check those guys out every Monday night. So
yeah, lots of great content to check out.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, we really appreciate you being on the show and being one of our premier patrons.
Oh, yeah. And thank you for letting me come on and joke with you so much. So
yeah. Great.
The community is better because of you, Steve. That's what I know. So
wow, that's gonna be hard to live up to now.
Right. I'm just trying to get one more month of Ready Teddy out of him. Oh no, I'm just kidding. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna set a Patreon up to collect money so that I can keep my Patreon at the Ready Teddy
Yeah.
level.
I know.
So if you would like me to continue to be a Ready Teddy Patreon, send me your money and I'll send it to these guys.
I know. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Well, I could talk all night to you, but I know you got to go. And thank you so much again for joining us, Steve. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Okay, guys, join us again and enjoy our new outro that's coming up right now.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.